5th chapter. New Testament book of Mark, 5th chapter, starting with verse 26. I would like to thank Pastor Pearl for allowing me to be able to stand in the pulpit, be able to preach the word of God again. And not only that, but I also thank God for allowing me to have another opportunity to stand in His church and be able to proclaim the word of God. I want to thank my auntie for coming out. Amen. My sister got baptized this morning. She still made it. Amen. Give her a thank God and praise for that. Amen. See, my girlfriend is not with me today. Amen. She should have been, but it's okay. Let's put her strength in the Lord. Amen. Hallelujah. I told her, okay, don't ask to go with me no more. We're talking about they eating at the church. I said, okay. If you spend all my money, now you want to eat at that church. I'll just keep bringing your prayers. Amen. God is still working on her behalf. Amen. Mark the 5th chapter, starting at verse 26. And a certain woman which had an issue of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and nothing bettered. But it says she grew worse. When she had heard of Jesus, came and pressed behind him and touched his garment. For she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be made whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her plague. And Jesus, immediately knowing himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about and said, who touched me? Yeah. And his disciples said unto him, thou seest the multitude throng thee, and you say, who touched me? And he looked round about to see that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And verse 34, which I will conclude, he said, daughter, thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plea. You may be seated in the presence of God. Talking to you for a particular topic this morning. God told me to tell you that there's power in the touch. Not too lean and not too stuck up and not too sophisticated. Turn to your neighbor and say, there's power in the touch. Many of us that have been in church all our lives are pretty familiar with this particular story. This story is currently recorded in the 4 Gospels of the Bible, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which being synoptic Gospels. Mark, who was an evangelist, an associate to Paul, and a disciple to Peter. Mark, the book of Mark is one of the shortest and the earliest of the Gospels. But Mark explains that this woman had an issue. He explains that this woman not only had an issue, but this woman had a problem for 12 years. As you can see in the Jewish customs over in the book of Leviticus chapter 15, it talks about any woman that discharged many more days after their cycle, considering their period, they was considered unclean. So this woman had been separated for 12 years. 12 years is a long time to be detached and separated from loved ones. She was not able to have a healthy relationship. Matter of fact, she had to divorce her husband and was not able to stay in her home. But let me tell you something, but she touched the right person this morning. And by her touching the right person this morning, it changed her life. But as we unfold the text and divide the verses down, as you can see, this woman did not have a name. Jesus did not say Samantha. Jesus did not call her Beyonce. Jesus did not say Nicki Minaj. But Jesus said a certain woman. The next verse says she suffered many physicians and had spent all that she had. But it says she got worse. Not only she was isolated by loved ones, but she was isolated financially. And Pastor Pearl Luke, the physician in this particular text, tells us that she spent all of her money on physicians and cures and and she was on every diet you can think of, and nothing was helping for her. She became poor. This woman struggled every day, and I'm pretty sure that the devil tried to convince her that she was the only one that had struggled the way she struggled. And that's what the devil likes to do, Pleasant Grove. He likes to come in our isolation and convince us that we're the only ones that are going through stuff. But I come to tell you that we all been through stuff. And I know about you today, but there might be somebody in here that feels like they're isolated and cut off and feel like nothing, the situation that they're in is driving them away from family and friends. Maybe it might be an addiction. Maybe you can't put down the bottle. Maybe you can't get off drugs. There's something that has gripped your life and causing you to be from people that love and care about you. We all struggle, but not in the same way. But this woman was bleeding badly on the inside. This woman was bleeding till she couldn't live no more. Then after to the crowd, this woman blended in. Elder Gould, to the crowd, this woman could not go nowhere. But we as people, if we were in the crowd, we would not be able to identify her struggle. But she was dying on the inside. And there might be somebody here today that's like, everybody's smiling, everybody's saying they love you, ain't nobody going through nothing. But I come to tell you, just because somebody got a smile on their face doesn't mean ain't nobody going through nothing. Y'all don't hear me again. The next verse said she heard of Jesus. In other words, somebody had to be talking about Jesus. And Pleasant Grove, that's why it's so important for us to share the word of God, because you don't know what other people are going through and what other people have been through. Y'all don't hear me? Because we all should believe, and I believe that God is strategically placing people all over the place just to share the word of God. But this woman believed that she heard. And when she heard, she began to move. She was determined to meet Jesus. So she pressed through the crowd. As a matter of fact, Pastor Perk, the Pharisees would have saw this particular woman in the crowd. They would have detained her. In other words, held her back. But she didn't care what was going on because she was desperate and expected to get to the crowd. But walk with me through the text. She was walking through the crowd. And the thing about it is, every person that she touched on her way to Jesus became unclean. And the thing about this, what made it so important, was because she thought that this struggle only affected her. She thought that her issue only isolated her. But the truth of the matter is, this thing that she was carrying not only affected her, but it affected everybody that came in contact with her. But when she heard about Jesus, she had to get to him. And I know there's somebody here today that's like, I'm struggling, I've been through some stuff, but I'm just trying to get to Jesus and get him all my trouble so he'll make it all right. Verse 28 says, and I got happy about this. She said, if I touch but his clothes. And the thing about this one is she used words like, I shall be made whole. If and I shall be made whole. Speaks well of her expectations to receive, but she expected to get healed. Also speaks of her hope, focus on Jesus, because you have to be focused on Jesus to receive the healing that he has for you. But she encouraged herself. She began to say it over and over and over again. How many of you strong faith believers know that faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God? When you begin to speak to your body, things begin to happen. When you begin to speak to your body, things begin to move. You got to begin to speak to your body. And she shall move. She began to speak, and immediately after she touched his clothes, Matthew chapter 9 verse 20 said she touched the hem of his garment. That actually means one of the border garments that the Jews wore. Every one of the devout Jews wore each robe with the tassels on each corner, which represents the obedience to the command. But the book of Numbers chapter 15 verse 38 through 40 tells you all about it. But the next verse said it ceased. It dried up. Cease meaning bring or come to an end. If you think about it, when the unclean woman touched Jesus, it will make him unclean. But since Jesus is so natural, and since we serve a most powerful God, it doesn't work like that. But the truth of the matter is, watch this, when she touched the garment, Jesus wasn't made unclean, but the woman was made whole. Just like when we go to Jesus with our troubles and our sins, it doesn't make him a sinner. It just makes us clean. Y'all don't hear me in here. But the next verse says, Jesus said, who touched me? Jesus, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the finisher, the last, said, who touched me? Touch means to come so close to as to be or come in contact with it. See, what I love about this verse is no matter what you're going through, as long as you just touch Jesus, healing will take over your body. When you just touch Jesus, your mind will be regulated. When you just touch Jesus, everything that's wrong with your body will become to come back together. When you touch Jesus, doors will begin to open. Tell somebody there's power in the touch. Jesus recognized that virtue came out of him. In other words, power had left out of him. and if somebody touched Jesus that had the kind of faith that he so desired us to have, that it caused Jesus to move in circumstances. Because we all know that faith is the video that calls God into come in your circumstances. So she had the kind of faith that pulls something from him. He said something had left out of him. Jesus began to inquire about this person. In other words, she had great expectations. And when you have great expectations, you can expect some great things for God to do on your behalf. But look back at the text. Jesus' disciples were very surprised that he asked this question. They said, you see the multitude throng thee, and you say, who touched me? But the thing about the disciples is, Pastor Pearl, they don't understand the difference between the casual contact with Jesus and reaching out and touching him in faith. There's a huge difference between bumping into Jesus here and there and reaching out and touching him in faith. You can come to church every Sunday and bump into Jesus, but that's not the same thing as touching him in faith. Y'all not hearing me in here. I'm trying to get out of here, but verse 33 says she fell at his feet. She been through some stuff. She's been through a lot of stuff. But how many know if God is able to do it again? I know he's able. If he did it before, I know he's able to pull me through again. And told him the whole truth. Guess what? She took the first hold. She raised her hand and said, Jesus, I plan to tell the truth and nothing but the truth and the whole truth. So tell me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus. She began to talk about her experiences. All that she had done in 12 years. Went to see all these people. Used all her money. But you know, but I believe she began to tell Jesus, Jesus, I heard about you healing the man, the demon-possessed man. Jesus, I heard about you cleansing the leper. Jesus, I heard about you healing the possessed man. I heard about you calming the winds and the waves. But let me tell you something. She had some radical faith. And today, how many of you know that you got to have some radical faith? And you got to have the kind of faith. And Jesus responds with compassion. And he said, daughter, that faith has made thee whole. And the thing about this is, not only did God deliver her, not only did God heal her and set her free, but he called her daughter. So I was studying this text and I was like, Jesus, you said a certain woman. Now you're going to say a daughter. But as you read the text and really understand what it's really saying is, Jesus said a certain woman. That could be anybody. Anybody with a disease. But she pressed through the crowd. And Jesus said, who touched me? In other words, a certain woman went to being a somebody. And then Jesus took a somebody and then he said, now I'm going to make her a daughter. And that's how it is in God's eyes. You can go from being unsaved to saved in just a moment. You can go from being uncovenant to in a covenant relationship. You can go from being in a condition to being in a position. And I come to tell you that it wasn't her touching Jesus' clothes that healed her. But instead it was her faith in Jesus. I'm getting ready to close and get out of here, but she told him the whole truth. We must tell him about our sins. Tell him the whole truth. About all the cures and physicians that we tried. He said, tell me the whole truth. About all our suffering and hopes, because he wants to know what he can do to help. But if she would have spent more time trying to get to Jesus and not spending her money on people that wasn't helping her, she wouldn't have been in this situation to start with. But church, we have to learn to look to the hills which cometh our help, because all our help comes from the Lord. I'm closing this morning. I'm heading to my seat. But I want to suggest to you that there's power in the touch. But I want to tell you that when the Lord speaks, everything around him must obey him. When he speaks, when the Lord speaks, lightning stops flashing. When the Lord speaks, thunder stops roaring. When he speaks, winds and waves become calm. When the Lord speaks, mountains move out of his way. And when the Lord speaks, cancer have to leave you alone. Have I got a witness out there that can testify, neighbor? I know I've been through the storm, and I know I've been through the rain, but I know there's power in the touch. Can I get a witness? Is there anybody here that can stand to your feet and turn to your neighbor and just say, neighbor, I've been through the fire, I've been through the flood, I heard the voice of Jesus telling me that I've got to keep on pushing on. Is there anybody here that can testify that I love the Lord? He heard my cry, pitied every groan, and as long as I live and trouble rise, I hasten to the throne. Ain't God alright? I want everybody in the building this morning to just stand on your feet. Don't act like last Sunday. Stand on your feet and just get out of your seat and go grab somebody. I see you all day, but then you got school tomorrow. Grab your neighbor, get out of your seat, get out of your seat, and go grab somebody. Don't shake them and don't rock them. Don't rock them and don't shake them. So grab your neighbor, hold them real tight, hold them, and then just make a consent. Hold them, and then put a lot of Kool-Aid, not sugar, in your Kool-Aid. Hold that beer and say, neighbor, no matter what you're doing, just lean and depend on God to work it out. And right there, say, neighbor, I want everybody to grab somebody. Grab you somebody, hold them real tight, hold them real good. Don't hold them like a dead fish. Don't hold them like you're a child of the devil, but hold them like you're a child of the Most High King. And you're gonna take it slow for you. Just shake them and rock them. Rock them and shake them. Shake them and rock them. Rock them and shake them and say, neighbor, oh neighbor, be not dismayed, whatever betide. I'm gonna find in here. I will come and see about you. I know there's power in the touch. But one Friday morning on the hill called Calvary, they washed him up Calvary's mountain with an old rugged cross up on his shoulder. They was in control of Jesus. But when they left the world, they hung high and they said it was. He dropped his head and the lock of his shoulder. He died all day Friday. He died all day Saturday. One Sunday morning on a hill called Calvary, he got up, power in his hand. Is there anybody here that can testify? God is my rock and my redeemer. I know the Lord will work it out. I know the Lord will work it out. When I'm down and couldn't get up, the Lord picked me up, turned me around, set my feet on solid ground. Get out of your seat. I'm gonna leave you alone now. Go grab you somebody. 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 And say, neighbor, I know what you mean. I've been through the same thing. I've been through heartache. I've been through pain. So just hold